The difference between an expert and a master in IDPA is not very great. I found that weapons handling skills are largely the same, and have mostly plateaued or peaked in both cases. Both have a good understanding of the rules, and both can largely avoid the big adders of FTNs, non-threats, and penalties. So what is the real difference? How do you make that final step over into the world of the masters? And why are master times so much better than expert times when it seems as though everything else is equal? The true differences are really in efficiency of movement, strategy and tactics, consistency, and experience. By now you understand where your shooting skills are at. You know better the balance between distance and accuracy. But if you feel yourself slipping away in the time and the scores, you might be tempted to push yourself beyond your abilities on a stage. Remember, consistency is not something everyone has. If you go bowling and get 3 amazing strikes, but the rest of the frames are left open, you'll get beaten by someone who consistently makes a spare and never leaves a frame open. Why do you lose? It's consistency. They don't swing for the fences. They know the extra couple of seconds you beat them on the last stage by pushing yourself beyond your limits created the possibility for a critical error, or more points down. All they need to do is shoot consistently, and sooner or later, your pushing the limits will bite you on a stage. And that bite will cost you more seconds than their extra 1 or 2 on the other stages. Don't change your tempo. Find a groove, get in the groove, stay in the groove. The same is true if you foul something up. Just because you hit a non-thread and added 5 seconds to your time, the day is not over. Put it out of your mind, and shoot the way you should be shooting. If you crush yourself by saying you'll never make it up, and swing for the fences the rest of the day, you will only add to that time with mistakes. 5 stages into the World Championship, I bombed a stage by dropping a loaded magazine and double tapping a non-threat because I was trying to go too fast on a stage and hadn't planned it out and wasn't being careful. But even against something insurmountable like adding 12 seconds to that single stage, by slowing down and shooting within my abilities on the rest of the stages, still ended up with first place when it was all said and done. This certainly would not have been the case if I gave up and tried swinging for the fences and letting it all hang out on every stage after. It's very important to mention a warm-up. Most matches you are coming into cold. You haven't fired a gun in a day, or maybe a month. Slow it way down and get your hits on the first stage or two to get your muscle memory primed. They don't grab a cold pitcher off the bench in the middle of a baseball game. They don't grab a new quarterback out of the showers and throw them on the field halfway through a game. Those pitchers and quarterbacks warm up and practice throwing before they step onto the field with the expectation of performing at 100%. And without that warm-up, they expect a disaster. So should you. To truly game out a stage, you need to employ strategy and tactics in your plan, then efficiency of movement in your execution. You need to know exactly what you're going to do in the stage and execute it exactly according to that plan. This in itself takes experience, but this is one of the main differences between a master and an expert. Before strategy and tactics are employed, you need to know your map times. I went over this in the Making Expert Shooting video. Without knowing how long it takes for you to accomplish tasks, you cannot accurately create a plan that minimizes your overall time. If, for example, you know you are terrible at reloads with retention, that's going to change how you plan a stage in contrast to someone who's very confident in them and does them quickly. So for this demonstration, let's assume the following basic times. 1 second to draw and aim, 1 second to reload, 2 seconds to reload with retention, half a second to transition to a target, 2 seconds to start and stop between 2 shooting positions 3 yards apart, 3 seconds to start and stop between 2 shooting positions 5 yards apart, 0.2 seconds to double tap a target 5 yards or less, half a second to accurately shoot a target 5 to 10 yards away, and 1 second to accurately shoot a target 10 to 20 yards away. So now that we have some basic, easy to remember times, let's take for example a stage design right out of the rulebook. In this scenario, suppose the start position is between P1 and P2, and the distance between P3 and P4 for reference is just 5 yards, or 15 feet. You're shooting SSP or ESP, which means 11 in the gun, then 10, then 10 in the magazines. There are 6 targets, each requiring 2 rounds each. That's 12 rounds. Therefore, even shot cleanly, a reload is required. In looking at the stage design, it is evident that P1 position is useless, and only adds additional time moving and aiming from another shooting position. It can be eliminated from all the plans. So let's look at possible tactics for this stage the same way, leaving out only the impossible, the illegal, and the obvious time wasters, but still retaining the plausible. Plan 1. Start and move to P2, engage T2, then T3, then T1. Move to P4 and engage T4. Move to T5. Engage T5 3 times with 1 aimed shot, then one aim shot and a double tap. Reload while moving up from P5 to P6, since in a hallway in a room. Engage T6 from P6 with a fresh mag. At least 2 or 3 rounds, since sight aiming is required due to the distance. This plan is solid and probably what most shooters will do. It makes use of a moving reload effectively. It stacks a round dump at the end of the magazine and before a reload and movement, so you have minimal risk. I would apologize for the upcoming math, but it's a necessary evil to make the point. Besides, it's just basic addition, so if you pass second grade math class, you should be capable. The draw and movement to P2 can be combined. That's 2 yards, 2 seconds. Targets are 10 yards away, so add half a second to aim at first target and half a second for each shot. 6 shots, 3 transitions. Then move to P4 is 3 more seconds. 0.5 seconds between each shot. Move to P5 takes 2 seconds. T5 is less than 7 yards. And a double tap on the end, so this should be about 1 second total to aim and shoot, and then aim and double tap. Reload can be done on the move up to P6, so that's combined and adds just 3 seconds. Barrel aiming is all that's required, and a quick double or triple tap as quickly as you can pull the trigger is only another half second. This creates a combined total of 15.5 seconds in this configuration. Plan 2. Start and move to P2. Engage T2 with 3. T3 with 3. T1 with 3. Move to P4. Engage T4 with 2. Reload while moving up to P5. Engage T5 with 2. Then move up to P6 and engage with 2. This plan is reasonable. Seems like it's more geared towards inaccuracy. Let's see how it adds up. Move and draw, same 2 seconds. Each target is half a second transition. Double taps at this range are largely out of the question. Let's just assume you speed it up a touch, so instead of 1 second per target to include the transitions in 2 shots, we'll say 1.25 seconds to transition and fire 3. Then the same 3 seconds to move to P4, the same 1 second for that target, especially since the last shot in the magazine must be aimed and not dumped. Then a moving reload to P5 is 2 seconds. Starting on T5 with a full mag means you can easily triple tap this target at 7 yards. Should be good for 0 down, so 3/4 of a second for that aim and triple. Then the same 3 seconds of movement, the same barrel aim and quick double or triple for another half second. This makes a total of 16 seconds. This plan is only slower by half a second in theory, so not terrible in time, but adds a risk of your lapsing on accuracy since you know you'll be firing extra at the far targets. And a possible miss on the last shot of the magazine as you hurriedly reload and move from P4 to P5. So this plan doesn't lend itself well on the overall scale, unless you're already questioning your ability to hit the targets. Let's look at some slightly more complex stages as examples. This is a 7-Eleven robbery store stage. The distance from the positions of cover to targets is about 10 yards, so with the exception of T1, everything will be a 10-yard shot, and 2 could be moving. You're shooting CCP or CDP, so 9 in the gun, 8 in the mags. So the plan. Turn, draw, barrel aim 2 shots into T1. Then the question. The stage description says you can stand still if you want on T2. Well, there's no non-threat to worry about. It's only 10 yards away. Movement to P1 will take 2 seconds. Why not make it 3 seconds and move while shooting to get to P1, ready to shoot at T3, instead of just standing and delivering 2 shots at T2 that take over a second. Then move the same 2 seconds to P1. Once again, simple math and efficiency of movement saves 1 second there. Engaging T3 from cover has to be done, but then moving to P2, T4 will become visible, and will have to be shot while moving laterally. This is a perfect opportunity to dump 3 well-aimed shots into T4 to maximize your chance of good hits, and initiate a reload while moving to P2. Finally, at P2, that leaves 8 shots left and 8 shots in a fresh mag. A perfectly set up stage for CCP. But consider shooting the same stage as ESP or SSP. Shooting the stage clean and only firing the exact number of shots per target will leave you with a transition to a non-threat covered target. Firing 1 round, then reloading in the middle of that target and shooting it again and having to move on. This violates several idioms, not the least of these being not making use of moving and reloading simultaneously on a stage where you have to do a reload. So ensure that reload happens while moving from P1 to P2 means round dumping only 3 shots. And with 2 threats engaged while moving, there's plenty of opportunity for this. So I won't bore you with walking through the math again with specific times, but suffice it to say, shooting it clean as SSP or ESP is a 14.5 second stage, and shooting it by round dumping 1 extra shot into T1 and T2, and then 1 extra shot into T4, will leave you with a slide lock reload while moving, and a 13-second stage, a gain of a second and a half. Here is another stage example. Shooting a CCP or CDP, you'll notice there are 17 scored shots. With 9 in the gun and 8s on your hip, and no opportunities for additional movement to make use of a reload, it's a pretty cut and dry stage. It means that the best way to shoot this would be to shoot it clean while moving. Reload while getting into position at CP, and finishing with just 1 reload instead of 2. Any other methodology for shooting the stage by round dumping, or making the first reload while moving, or stopping on the right side of cover, will result in a second reload and more time. So slowing down and spending that extra couple hundred milliseconds on each shot is going to save you plenty of time and be a stark contrast from doing it fast, firing extra shots, or having makeup shots, shooting from both sides of cover, and the extra reload. Of course, if you just plain miss, no matter how well you aim, things happen. You just have to pick up the pieces and soldier on as best you can. Let's look at this same stage reversed with the start position on the left and tack sequence while retreating. Same CCP or CDP. This requires T1 through T3 to be engaged while moving, but T4 could be done after those while moving from cover. The rest have to be engaged from the right side of CP, so once again there are only 17 shots required on the stage. So first look for ways to shoot it clean. Shooting the stage clean with the exact number of shots required for each target, and a reload at slide lock requires a reload in the middle of T9, and will be flat-footed, which probably negates all the time lost ensuring good shots to shoot the stage clean. However, making use of a reload with retention while continuing your retreat after shooting T1 through T3 in tack sequence and then T4 gives you the benefit of a moving reload. No reload in the middle of a transition, or a flat-footed reload, and allows you to do only 1 reload. That would have been a much faster way of shooting this stage, taking a full 2 seconds off the total time. As stage designs get more complex, these issues get more complex, and it becomes harder to find the simplest, best, most effective method to execute a stage, finding cover lines and determining where to go on them. Following basic rules through help speed up the process of determining a plan, and it's in the exact order of the most time spent during a stage. First, how can you minimize movement and shoot more targets from the same spots? Second, how can I minimize the number of reloads I need to do and still maintain speed and accuracy? And third, how can I balance the number of reloads and minimize the time spent by doing them by timing a reload along with the movement? By employing these as your 80% of time savings rule, and focusing on where 80% of your time savings will come from, it'll help narrow down your choices on the stage. Cover goes to infinity. Make use of distant cover when possible to minimize foot movement. Since physical movement can be a real time matter, there's often no reason to run all the way up to a position of cover. If you can move to a position that has potential cover on 2 separate targets at once, one near, that is at the standard position to engage it, and one far, because then your movement is not required and thusly your time is saved. In short, it's better to move once and transition once than to move twice. Swingers and props are a special concern. Finding ways to game them can result in seconds in the long run, or misses in the short term. Unfortunately, most stage designers implement moving or disappearing targets in ways that penalize heavily novice to sharpshooter shooters, and play games of chance with expert shooters. But they're usually a snap for masters due to experience. In short, these type of targets on a stage create a very large differentiation in the total time for the stage at skill levels. When faced with an appearing target or swinger and a steel activator, the best thing to do is watch other shooters do it, and then time it with your mind what you can do in the time it takes to activate. You of course need to know how long it takes for you to transition, aim, and fire, and whether it's crucial in the decision to engage targets first, or to wait for the moving or disappearing target. Timing is everything for these. There's no one-fits-all answer except for that a moving or disappearing threat or non-threat promotes something you want to avoid, that being misses, FTNs, and non-threat hits. So if you're satisfied with your performance thus far, playing it safe and getting hits is the best course of action. If the timing is something you can figure out and count on, and it's within your capabilities, this will save a few precious seconds on the stage. Remember, not every time you pull the trigger do you have to hit your target. Rather, just engage your target. Sometimes it's more advantageous to purposefully throw around in the direction of a target in order to make up time later. Here's an example where you start and tack sequence is required on 2 targets, 10 yards away from the shooter, straight out at 180 degree angles to the left and right. Taking the time and draw and aim at a target and fire once, then transition 180 degrees, aim and fire twice, and then re-transition 180 degrees, reacquire that same first target, and fire again is going to be a huge time killer. So why not throw the first shot away? Then just worry about getting good hits on the second target, and then getting 2 good hits on the first target. Remember, be mindful of your round dumping and your transitions. Spend extra time on a target before a slide lock reload if you don't round dump. Without doing this, you may be subconsciously moving the barrel towards your reload as you break the last shot. This may cause a miss. Stage walkthroughs are your friend. This gives you an opportunity to walk the stage, hopefully twice. Once to ensure you see all the targets and shooting positions, and a second time to mentally mark your cover footfall positions and plan your actual movement through the stage. What do I mean by that? If you've watched my videos, you'll find that in the majority of the time, even though on a wide-angle lens you can't tell, there's an obvious downward head movement occurring when I move to a new position of cover. The reason for this is because when I did a stage walkthrough, I noted exactly where the line of cover extended and mentally marked and referenced that spot for where I was planning to place my foot. For most outdoor shooting, this can be done by a patch of grass, or a hole that's been dug there by previous shooters, or an obvious weird-looking spent brass that was already there. For an indoor range, this could be a mark or a piece of tape nearby. In short, anything to mentally reference where your foot should go should be used. While you're taping targets on the stage, waiting for your turn to shoot, you should be staring at those foot positions you had made in your mind during the walkthrough and further ingraining them in your memory, so that when it comes time to move to that new shooting position, you're running as fast as you can, braking hard and coming to a stop by planting your foot exactly where you had planned. You only need to stare at the spot on the ground as you approach it, until you are sure your foot will land there. Then you can change your focus and acquire the target with your eyes and bring your weapon up into play on the target. Equalizer stages are important to recognize. The simplest example of these are standards, because usually there is very little footwork, no reloads on the dock, and basic accuracy. When you see a stage where sharpshooters, experts, and masters are all generally shooting the same raw time, this is where you need to purely focus on accuracy and not speed. Eking out that extra 1 or 2 seconds faster of a raw time, but risking points down, is not going to be worth it. It has been said that matches are never won on standard stages, but matches are definitely lost on standard stages. And I found that to be true. But we may as well call them equalizer stages because it's not just the standards. Anytime you see a stage with limited movement, limited reloads, chances are it's an equalizer stage, and you need to spend extra focus on accuracy and much less focus on speed. Saving the best issue for last, and I know I've mentioned this briefly in other videos, but when practicing or at local matches, you need to ensure you use your sights for everything but the closest shots, and shoot and move faster than you know you can. If you only work on your accuracy, then your accuracy might improve, but your speed will not. If you only focus on speed and not using your sights, then your points down will definitely suffer. But if when practicing and improving your use of your sights, and you shoot and move just a little faster than you know you can make a perfect hit, then your body, eyes, and mind will speed up over time to accommodate, and your accuracy will improve. To make this practical, I'll use an example. If you can draw and engage 3 targets with 2 rounds each at 10 yards of equal priority, and it takes 1 second for the draw, half a second to transition and aim, then your time will be 1 plus half, etc., for a total time of 4 seconds, with perfect zero-down hits. And if you practice and try to obtain a perfect zero-down hits every time, you will see no noticeable decrease in time. But if you're willing to speed up your transitions to 1/3 of a second instead of half a second, and willing to accept the 3 points down it will probably give you, your total time will of course increase from a raw 3 seconds total to 4.5 seconds with the points down. But, and this is a big but, after doing that for a couple of weeks or a few times, you'll find that you're able to get zero-down hits in 3 seconds of total time that you were only capable of doing in 4 seconds beforehand. This does take time, but it really does work. This is because you're pushing your body and mind to the limits of its current capability. And by doing that, the body will accommodate you, within reason. Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't born a wall of muscle. He pushed himself until his body rose to the occasion. Einstein didn't start out a theoretical physicist. He pushed his mind until his mind rose to the occasion. And the great shooters of our day didn't pick up a gun for the first time and shoot better than everyone else. If you're willing to push yourself to the limit, your body and mind will improve and find new limits. I'm not saying that everyone could shoot better than Bob Vogel, but I am saying that if more people spent as much time, money, and training time behind a gun as Bob Vogel, sending thousands around downrange training correctly, then he would have some much closer competition. Finally, as I said before, there's no substitute for experience. The more you shoot at matches, the easier they will become. Less stress and more confidence means you can spend less time determining a stage plan, and more time visualizing how you're going to execute the plan. Get technique first, practice that good technique only as quickly as you can do it correctly. Then, with time, technique becomes instinct, and instinct keeps you and others safe, and is fast. The real nice thing about shooting sports is it doesn't greatly depend on your age or physical capabilities. I know guys and gals in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s even, who can't move very quickly, have bad knees, and a myriad of other health issues, who still not only compete at the master level, but win at the master level in shooting sports. These same folks have had to give up on other hobbies, even something so easy as golf, but can still not only compete but win. Shooting competitions is a lifetime hobby, and in many ways a skill builder for real-world carry. I hope you enjoyed this series, but more importantly, I hope you learned something that is applicable and helps you become a better shooter. Thanks for watching.